Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel here. We're going to be going directly through those 4 games in your week 1 of finals. It's a pretty hectic weekend of footy. I absolutely loved it. I hope you guys did too. I knew going into it was going to be probably one of the best that we've seen, and it really delivered. All 4 games had big moments in it. Even this first game with Panthers winning pretty comfortably in the end, it was close really until Mitch Moses went down. You kind of felt like the Panthers had this game, but they obviously were able to finish that off when Moses went down with his head injury after getting himself in a really awkward position in that tackle. So thankfully it wasn't like a something that the Panthers did. It was just his own tackling that kind of ended his night anyway. But Panthers, obviously Cleary coming back showed that he basically never left. He was incredible. Kicking game, ability to run the ball, pick the right time. That obviously that flick pass to Fisher Harris that he had. So just picking the right moment with guys running out at him for his kick, and then just dummying and go. When he's running the ball, he's at his best for sure. And we're able to use To'o nicely on that right edge. Some of Cleary's towering bombs for Wanga Blake, unfortunately, great for the Panthers there. And the majority of people would have struggled catching that. So they singled him out a little bit, but that happens in games. As soon as someone drops one as well, obviously you get a little bit scared, and it makes it a bit tough. But Panthers showed that they are the most superior team in the comp, and the Eels are someone that could beat them and can beat them, but wasn't to be in this moment here. It was Panthers' moment at home in this one to come out and dominate, especially after how badly they got beat last time. Cleary had his outburst, his suspension, so there's a lot riding on this one. And then now the Eels will come up against the Raiders, which can be a really fun matchup. And, I think it's one of those ones where if Eels come out, they could really dominate, win by 20, or they could come out and lose to the Raiders, who are in red hot form. And, what else? I was talking to my roommate last night, just how silly it would have been if Broncos did make it into the finals, because the Storm would have pumped them. So it was a much better game, that Storm v the Raiders there. Just in this first one, I just wanted to point out a few of the completion rates as a bit of an interesting one. Possession is pretty well 50-50 split there. Completion rates for the Eels is where they went wrong. 67%, so only 27 out of 40, so almost the same amount of sets. But you can tell that if they completed it a little bit more, they probably would have ended up with more sets with ball in hand than the Panthers, and a bit more of a chance of winning. But 67% against the best team in the comp is clearly not good enough there. So that's just something to think about in that game. And you'll see across all 4 of them, the team with the best completion rate wins. And you'll see that with why the Cowboys are doing so well this year is usually, most of the games they win is when they complete really well. And that's just on the back of Townsend, showing them around the park really well and getting them into the correct positions to then finish off a set and allow them to defend deep in the opposition territory, which is always very, very helpful. And then if you've got some attacking guys, which the Cowboys do at the moment, and that works great. And you saw, Panthers, 83% completion rate. It's going to be very, very tough to get over the top of them eventually. You see this, you work and work and work and work and work, and then you eventually get the spoils at the end, which is what happened with the Panthers in this one. And pretty much every other stat was fairly similar, to be fair. Kick meters is the same. Even Eels had a few extra forced dropouts, for example. Tackling was very similar across the board. So really, overall, it's just that increased amount of errors and just not being able to complete the sets was what stopped it, because Panthers conceded more penalties, for example. So yeah, just a big shout out to all the Panthers guys. They basically Luai played 1 game in the last 6-7 weeks, 8 weeks even. Cleary missed 5 games in a row and come back and performed like that. And you got Fisher Harris, Isaiah Yeo, and all the outside backs, for example, just completely doing their job. Using Coruscant coming off the bench was great as well. Storm v Raiders, a very, very cool one here to think about. That 28-20, really, really great win from the Raiders. They absolutely killed it, and was very much a back and forth game. There was opportunities there where you thought the Storm were going to run away with it. You had Hughes, you had Munster doing their thing, but Raiders forward pack really stood up. Joey Tarpany there and Josh Papali'i, probably the best forward 8 and 10 forward punch in the game at the moment. Both have incredible skills, both able to get an offload away and can pass the ball too. So, and are very dangerous close to the line in terms of their scoring. So in this one, again, just completion rate a lot higher from the Raiders, 70% from the Storm. So completed an extra 3 sets, the Raiders did, and that just got them over the line. Especially when all 4 of the games were pretty close, right? That completion rate really, really makes a difference. if you're looking at, down the line on here, even stuff like this, average play the ball speed, you're getting a little bit quicker here from the Raiders, which just helps them get a little bit more over the advantage line and do really well there. If you're looking at offloads, it's all very much the same. And, considering that Raiders have a lot of those types of players in their team that offload the ball, that wasn't even a way that took them over the line. You can see here 649 kick meters for Raiders compared to the 440 from the Storm. So a big difference there. If you actually break it down, there was a lot more longer kicks from the Raiders, and Storm were a little bit more closer to the line, and so the 8 grubbers to 3. So you can look at that kick meters and say, oh, yep, it's a big difference, but just based on where they're finishing their sets, right? If they're finishing their sets pretty close, 20, 30 meters out, then a few more grubbers, the short kicks are going to be in play. So it's a stat that you can look at, but kind of need to watch the game to be like, oh, okay, well, this is where they were set up, and this is where they ended up at the end of each play. But 14 errors for the Storm, just not good enough. The rest of it was very similar there. So that's that game there. Big shout out to all the Raiders guys. Fogg's is just such a big player for them. You got Whiten being able to, he's can be very controlled himself, but it's just much better if you can get Fogs to direct them around the park, and then you've got Whiten and Hudson Young, Sebastian Chris, those types of guys on that left. You got the guys through the middle that are killing it. You've got Elliot Whitehead, the older head, there on the right hand side. Obviously got a try for him as well, which is really, really cool. So a great overall team effort, and this is what we expected to see coming from them earlier in the year and even last year, and had a bit of a shocker. But good to see them come out and do really well, even without guys like Josh Hodgson, who's been out for the entirety of the year, getting injured in that first game. So that was that in that game there. My favourite game of the week, obviously, was very, very scary, but the Cowboys getting over the Sharks. A 50-50 match this was, and I can definitely see the Sharks v Bunnies being that 50-50 matchup as well there. So 52% possession for the Cows in that very, very long game, 92.5 minutes there. Completion rate for both teams was incredible at 82% and 80% respectively. So Cowboys getting that one extra set completed, helped them out in the end, like the tiniest little bit. So great results from them, and the way that it panned out obviously was definitely a flip of a coin. A few more runs, 41 more runs, 39 more runs than the Sharks had, so a bit more ball in hand and making bigger meters, which was really, really cool. Tackle breaks was up as well, so you can see they're just making a few more post-contact meters and tackle breaks, getting them down the line. 3 more meters per set before they kick there. So that was a bit of a stat for him. Average play the ball speed, very, very similar, 3.36 to 3.44, and a few more offloads to boot. So, it's interesting how it worked out. Kicking meters was so high from both teams, 907, 791. The completion rates, getting down and kicking to the corners, Townsend's specialty. Behinds did a great job of that as well. So, very, very similar across the board. And you can tell, this is how it worked. But effective tackle percentage for the Cows was 90%, 86% for the Sharks. As I said, they allowed a few more offloads than the Cows did, and a couple less missed tackles from those Cows there. So it definitely helps with the Cows getting a little bit further down the park there. Errors very similar across the board. Penalties, a few more conceded from the Sharks, but a few more ruck infringements for the Cows. So you can tell it's very, very close across the board, but amazing efforts from Hines and the middles for Sharks, Toby Rudolph, Cam McInnes. Shout out to those guys. Wade Graham, another great game from him. Talakai ran the ball for 230 meters, and on the Cow side of the ball, you had Cotter, you had Tamalolo. I was pretty annoyed with Tamalolo after that try. He helped let through with Toby Rudolph to then go on, and obviously plenty of good passing. That left to right pass was electric. Wow, about 25 meters to help him with that try. We'll say though that probably wasn't it obviously benefited me, but the obstruction, the Val Holmes one, he was never. Connor Tracy was never getting over to... Val was never getting over to tackle the winger that scored. So that's the only annoying thing about that, and it obviously played a bit of a part in the loss. But it is what is letter of the law is how it works out. I suppose he could have avoided getting anywhere near him. I suppose that you could talk about it that way, rather than giving Val the chance to flop or however you want to call it. So it's probably the only thing to think about there. But that 45-minute drop goal, incredible. Townsend, as much as he's not flashy, does a great job for this team, and he needs to be commended for the efforts that he's put in to get these young fellas in a great position to succeed. And big props to Todd Payton as well. on that one. All right, Roosters v Rabbitohs, 7 sin bins in this one. This was just a slogfest. Plenty of stoppages in the game. Obviously, yeah, with those 7 sin bins. Victor Radley getting binned twice, for example. And Tedesco going down in the 18th minute was the big one. I think, with the game in the balance for majority of this game, you see there the conversions was down, 1 from 3, unfortunately for Roosters as well. But when this game was definitely in the balance, you look at 3 tries apiece. 4 tries to 2 at one point there. But before that, very close for the majority of it. And, Butcher getting over, giving them a little bit of a chance. But then the Isaiah Tass one to ice this game. You look at all the sin bins there. But Tane Milne getting a couple, Victor Radley getting a few as well. And Tommy Burgess looking like he's going to miss a couple of weeks there, potentially. But again, you look at the completion rate, 80% for the Bunnies, 72% for the Roosters. So just keeping your hands on the ball for longer periods of time tends to win you games. We talk about it's a very, very simple game. Completion rates gets you, less time they have their ball in their hands, the less chance that they are of scoring, obviously, in that one. Play the ball speed was actually quicker for the Roosters. So, there's a few other things. The star quality of Tedesco being off was obviously hurt. It obviously hurt them. And then offloads, it's hard to tell as well because, by the time that they're down, it's very easy to try and pass the ball a bit more. Try and offload a little bit more as well. But kicking meters very much down for the Roosters. So that's a big one that you can look at. 724 for the Bunnies, just getting themselves in great field position. Roosters not as good on that front there. You're looking at a bunch more longer kicks from the Roosters than we had from the Bunnies there. Effective tackle percentage was strong on both sides. You look at tackle numbers and not too much of a disparity there. Again, it's just that ability to finish plays. When you're missing Joey Manu and Tedesco, makes it really, really tough to be able to score on a team like the Bunnies, who, as you can tell through the final series last year, did have a really nice defensive rate, and they have a bunch of great attacking players like Cook, Cody Walker, and Latrell, for example. But just over 10 errors. To keep errors down to 8, the Rabbitohs was really, really important for them to win this one. But that try from Latrell when they were down to 11 men, to him to go through and score that one, I think that was a bit of a backbreaker for the Roosters as well. You're missing Victor Radley on and off, who's a very important player for them. Teddy's gone. Just a bit of a kick to the nuts, that one, just to finish it off. And I think we'll leave that analysis there, guys. Just definitely a cool one to check out. Just jump into the team stats and look at these things. And it really usually tells a bit of a picture, especially that completion rate. All 4 of these, the team with the best completion rate won, and you should see that in the 2 coming games this week, which we will review. We will do a little mini preview at the back end of the week, just to keep some videos flowing, which I know you guys that are still watching are enjoying. So thank you so much for still being here, and would appreciate it if you did like this video and try and get it out to a bit of a newer audience that aren't just necessarily looking at NRL fantasy analysis, for example. And I hope you guys liked the thumbnail. Hope you have a good one, guys. See you later.